presentation will be recorded and posted on the Whitburn Center's website and YouTube channel. We ask that you please keep your mics on mute. We'll have time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. My name is Lisa Lewis. I'm the Administrative Manager in the Whitburn Center for Governance and Policy Research. And before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about the Whitburn Center. The Whitburn Center was established in the fall of 2021 through a generous donation from our founding benefactor, UWO alumni Jerry Whitburn. Our mission is to conduct nonpartisan, practical, applied research focused on evaluating and improving governance, professional management, and public policy in Wisconsin and beyond. Our vision is to build local government, nonprofit, and community capacity to promote the common good. To do this work, it requires bringing people together in spaces like this one to work together to share knowledge and equip public professionals with tools and resources to better understand the dynamic topic areas surrounding Wisconsin's public sector. With that, I will turn things over to Dr. Larson.
Great. Thank you so much, Lisa. And thanks everyone for joining us today. We knew when we scheduled this that, folks, it's the holidays. We're all kind of getting over the holidays, and hopefully all of you have had some time to have a bit of a break here after, a pretty tumultuous fall. But we're happy that you're here with us, and we're excited to talk to you all today about a couple of funding opportunities that we are excited to be offering here in the new year. So just really quickly, what we're covering today, the director of the Whitburn Center, Mike Ford, he wants to give just a bit of a background of what the Whitburn Center is, how we came to be, some of the kind of aspects of funding around how we are funded, and then some of the kind of outcomes or impact that we've had so far, just to give you a sense of, if you haven't worked with us before or haven't really, seen any of the work that we've done, we want to just give you kind of an overview of that, because that's really tied into the main purpose of today's webinar, which is talking more about these two faculty funding call for proposals and opportunities, one being a research fellowship opportunity. So two of those will be offered, up to $12,500 in funding for those. And then the community engaged course development stipends, of which we are offering up to 10 of those at up to $500 a piece. So we'll walk through kind of the guidelines for those, the application requirements for those, and the timeline for that as well. And then we will do a bit of Q&A at the end. And really, this is, I kind of described it to Mike and Lisa as a semi-formal presentation. And so we want to give you the information here, but at the end, we hope to answer any questions you have about the call for proposals. And if folks don't have many questions, we might just end early. So we have an hour, but we'll see if we use all of that or not. The other thing I'll just quickly mention before I hand it over to Mike is that this is our first year doing this. And so we hope to have as many answers as we can, but some of this is kind of still in process. And quite honestly, I'll touch on this a bit later, but this is something that we have been planning to do for a couple of years since we started, and really kind of pulled together as much as we could over the fall as the restructuring process started to happen, because we really wanted to focus on how we could put more funding out to more faculty across campus. So we're excited to have you here and excited to be kind of launching this year. So with that, I will hand it over to Mike to talk a little bit more about the Whitburn Center.
Thank you, Dr. Larson. So Michael Ford, I am an associate professor of public administration. So both Dr. Larson and I teach in the Masters of Public Admin program. And the Whitburn Center is an idea, the concept behind the Whitburn Center is an applied research center attached to our Masters of Public Admin program. And if you don't know much about the MPA program, we have about 600 alumni. We've been around for 50 years, since 1972. And we primarily train mid-career working professionals to go be city managers, work in state and local government, working in the nonprofit sector. So really the idea behind the Whitburn Center, which was, we started talking about this idea back in 2015 or so, when Dr. Larson got here, but try to utilize that broad network we have of practitioners and attach some of the great research going on at UWO with the broader community here in Wisconsin and beyond. So as Sam mentioned, we were founded in 2021. Since we were founded, we've raised about $750,000 or so in various donations, research grants, and fee-for-service projects. I want to point out that we're 100% externally funded, so we don't get any support from the university, which is something that I maybe was frustrating before, but after this last year, I think it's probably a good thing. Our basic mission is try to improve governance in Wisconsin. How do we do that? Well, we have four key areas we've been focusing on: developing high-functioning governing boards for public and nonprofit organizations, advancing and building administrative capacity for public and nonprofit organizations, intergovernmental and intersectoral cooperation. So that means getting governments to work together, but also getting government and the nonprofit sector to work together, and then to have fiscal sustainability or pursue fiscal sustainability in public and nonprofit organizations. And within all those four areas, we focus on some of the key values of public administration, which is effectiveness, efficiency, and social equity. So that's kind of our guiding philosophy. Since we've been founded, we've held, I think, 16 different Whitburn Center Wednesday events, which was Dr. Larson's brainchild. And that's really an hour-long online presentation like you're seeing today on a variety of topics. We've done a few of those in person as well. We've done about a dozen policy reports, and those are all on our website, and that covers all kinds of different topics, but feel free to check that out. We've employed 9 different students, funded graduate student activities, funded some professional development, and then partnered with all kinds of organizations like the Wisconsin League of Municipalities, Winnebago County, the UW Extension, the Wisconsin Towns Association, and a whole lot more. On our website, we have a whole section about our funding and impact that also details all the press hits we've gotten, and that's a real big part of what we're trying to do here is get our work out there, make it as practical and as useful as possible, and some of that is having a fairly aggressive media strategy. So I guess another way of putting this, that really what we've been trying to do is, I joke with all this discussion on UWO's campus about what research enhanced means. I'm always like, hey, we know what it means. We're raising money for research. We're having UWO faculty and students engage in that research, and then we're putting that research out there into the broader community to have a positive impact on communities in Wisconsin. And that's really, I think, what we are all about. And this opportunity really feeds into that because, as I mentioned, it's me as the director, Dr. Larson as the research director, Lisa Lewis as a researcher / administrative assistant, and then various other student employees. But we want to broaden our network and really utilize all the intellectual capacity and talent we have here on campus and get you some resources to get your work out there, having positive impact consistent with our mission. So with that, I'm happy to turn it over to you, Dr. Larson, once again.
Great. Thanks for that, Mike. And thanks for introducing me. I realized I didn't have that in my notes, so I forgot that part as well.
Doing better with that. Dr. Larson's a tenured professor, a leader nationally in social equity research, and a heck of a colleague.
And Dr. Ford is too nice to me sometimes. So, but yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for that overview. And moving forward, so we, as I mentioned before, we've done quite a bit of work in various avenues since 2021 when we opened. And one of the things that we had been talking about since that point is kind of creating this kind of faculty funding opportunity or opportunities. And really, we moved that forward as quickly as we could between August and November. So working with various administrators across campus to really get this put in place so we could launch it early this year in January. So what we have done in that design, which we'll present today, is allocated $30,000 in faculty funding, specifically focused on the work that Mike just mentioned. But in a really broad sense, what we're doing is this kind of research enhanced but community engaged scholarship approach. And so this can include both teaching and research activities that we see as being performed in this kind of equitable, mutually beneficial collaboration with other public or nonprofit partners that fulfill both, objectives of the community partners we're working with, but also campus objectives related to research and impact and, student research opportunities and a wide variety of things. And so we have these 2 community engaged research fellowships and 10 community engaged course development stipends, again, focused on both teaching and research. We sent out an announcement that we would be launching this back in November. And then just last week, we sent out the call for proposals officially, which includes the link to applications that we'll be covering today. So all of that can be found as well on our faculty funding opportunities website here. And I think Lisa also just put that in the chat. So all the information that we're covering today, almost word for word, you'll find on our website as well. All right, so just to begin with, I think the most important thing is eligibility criteria. So we really want folks to know that this is open to all faculty and academic staff holding full-time 9-month academic year appointments. Applicants can apply either individually or as teams with potentially other, colleagues or research team members. And a big part of this that we want to emphasize as well is we're, interested especially in projects that focus on engaging with either a public or nonprofit partner that supports historically underserved communities. One thing I want to highlight here is that we open this up to folks from any department or program on campus. So Mike mentioned before that we've had a number of, for instance, students working with us, and it's been really great to see students from a wide variety of disciplines. So even though we are in the MPA program and we've had a couple of research assistants from our program, we've also had undergraduate research assistants from economics, from criminal justice, from social work, from English and sociology. And so we want to keep expanding that as widely as we can, because we know that folks are doing community engaged work in every department at UWO. So we want to cast this wide as far and cast this net as far and wide as we possibly can. We want to begin by talking about the research fellowship program. And so, just briefly, what we want to focus on here and what we're really aiming for is essentially fostering that research enhanced idea, or the Wisconsin idea, by funding partnerships between scholars here at UWO and public or nonprofit organizations out in the community. So, and when I say community, that can be any community in Oshkosh, beyond Oshkosh, in the state of Wisconsin, beyond the state of Wisconsin, internationally. But what we're really focusing on is that connection between researchers and teachers and instructors and faculty here on campus and organizations out beyond. The collaborations that we're looking for can include a wide variety of things. So it might include co-designing research questions to solve specific problems that an organization is facing that a scholar is also interested in. It can focus on evaluating different policies or programs that the organization may be interested in. It could include creating programs or program interventions that affect folks, out in the community. So these are just a few types of examples, but we know that, folks are doing a much wider variety of things. So, so this is a really open call for any kind of community engaged work. Again, we will be selecting 2 fellows, up to $12,500 in support, as I mentioned. And at the completion of the projects, I think this is an important point, we will be asking our fellows to provide a technical report for publication on our website. So that will be essentially due at the end of the year of the fellowship. So it would be like next May of 2025, essentially. One quick note on the funding piece as well, and you'll see a little bit more information about this on the website, but that funding can be utilized for a wide variety of things. It can be utilized for course releases, it can be utilized for summer support, It could be utilized for equipment or travel, hiring research assistants. It's really open to what your needs are. In terms of the application requirements, so there is a Google form here that I'll click on in just a second that includes the application link, and that's where you would submit an application. And then beyond that application, we also are asking folks to essentially prepare a couple of documents to submit. So we're looking for, first of all, project description. So we want to see a background on the project that you'll be doing, what your research objectives are. A key piece here is what the involvement will be of the public or nonprofit partner that you'll be working with, your methodology, any anticipated outcomes. So we know that that might be in flux throughout the fellowship year, but anything that you're kind of anticipating, and that might be related a bit to the objectives that you have, and then a bibliography. And so that project description, 5 pages or less is what we're looking for that. A project timeline. And so we are asking folks to kind of set their start date as the summer of 2024. Part of the reason for that is, of course, going through applications, but also once the 2 fellows are selected, we'll be working with HR and kind of getting everything set up the rest of the spring for funding to begin in the summer. And then that funding will be available through the spring of 2025. So with your timeline, also including the kind of similar things that you're including in your project description related to kind of your methodology throughout the year, and any kind of like reporting or anything that you might be doing towards the end related to submitting that technical report at the end. Those are some items that could be included there. So 1 page max for the project timeline. A budget. And so again, I mentioned before, all estimated expenses for the project, such as personnel costs, student research assistants, supplies and materials, et cetera. And then including just a brief narrative description or a budget justification for each of those expenses. And then 2-page max for the budget. And then an abbreviated CV, 2 pages for that as well. So I'll click on the link here and hopefully this will come up as well, the Google form. So what we have here, I'll just kind of walk through with you all. It's pretty basic. So just, email, your name or names of if there are more than one, if there is more than one person on your team, the title of the applicant, department, the project title. And then there's just a couple of brief questions that we ask you to answer here. So the fellowship, again, requires working with at least one public or nonprofit community partner. And so we want you to identify that partner. So providing the name, the physical address, website, employee contact name. So if there's a specific person that you're working with, and then any other information that you think is important to include within your application. And then we have a couple of places here where you can upload your project description, your project timeline, and your budget, and then also your CV. One thing I'm just going to highlight here that's important is we want you to remove any identifiers that might reveal the applicant identity. And so I know that this is not always easy to do. Mike and I joke about this quite often because, a CV, there are other identifiers within that. A bibliography, you might be citing yourself within your bibliography, but just a call to try to remove any identifiers that you can in order for us to have the most anonymous review process possible as we're and our committee is looking through applications. All right. I think that is it that I'm going to cover for the research fellowships. So from there, I'll move on to our course development stipends. So, similar, the course development stipends are also focusing on community engaged scholarship. which includes teaching and instruction. So what we're really focusing on here is supporting those relationships that have already been built, because I'm sure many of you have already built pretty strong relationships with community organizations, but also, anyone who's looking to do that further in the future and in future courses. So really supporting relationships between our faculty, our students, and public and nonprofit organizations. This is open to instructors who integrate community engaged pedagogy into a course to advance civic understanding. And again, we're just giving a few examples here, but some of those activities or practices might include things like inviting guest speakers to your courses, service learning projects, any kind of community-based student research projects, field trips to organizations, and there's much more. Again, we're hoping to provide up to 10 stipends of up to $500 to applicants. The courses, again, have to include activities or assignments that engage at least one public or nonprofit organization. And just as I mentioned before, that organization can be, in Oshkosh or beyond, in any community that you are working with or are interested in working with. The course that you're teaching, it can be taught either this spring semester, so spring of 2024, summer of 2024, fall of 2024, or spring of 2025, or any of the interim semesters as well. But the main thing is we want to focus on any courses taught, between spring 2024 and spring 2025. A key piece here also that I want to mention is that both new and existing courses are eligible, but we're focusing on providing preference to instructors who are teaching the course for the first time, even if it's an existing course. So part of the thought behind this is, especially for folks, again, it's open to all, but if you or other faculty are teaching a course for the first time, especially if that's part of the restructuring process, this was an effort for us to be able to provide some support for folks who are asked to be doing a little bit more at this time and not really receiving any additional compensation for that. So if you know others as well, please help spread the word, because we definitely know a lot of folks on this campus do community engaged pedagogy in their courses. The application requirements for this are a little less compared to the research fellowship. So there's a brief application, which is a Google form, and then uploading a course syllabus. And so I will put the application, or Lisa, could you put the application link in the chat? And then I'll click on it here and again, just walk through briefly with you all. So here we have, again, the basics, kind of email, your name, title, department, the course title. We ask if this is the first time developing and teaching this course. This semester, the course is being offered. And then again, just a few brief questions. So the first is, this stipend requires instructors to engage with at least one public or nonprofit community partner for their course. So we ask again, folks to provide the name, physical address, website, employee contact name if there's someone that you're working with, and any additional information you wish to provide. And then we also ask folks, how have you integrated community engaged pedagogy into this course? So this is the opportunity to briefly describe all activities and or assignments that include working with the public or nonprofit partner. So this is really, again, kind of an opportunity to tell us, even though this is included on your syllabus, to give a bit more information about how you're bringing kind of a community engaged emphasis into your course. And then the last requirement here is simply uploading the course syllabus. And again, here, just a reminder, we're asking folks to remove any identifiers that might reveal the identity. So, the instructor would be the big piece there. I think as well, if folks want to remove not the course name, but if there's anything related to the course that you think might be an identifier to do that. But I think the main thing is just the instructor name. All right, in terms of timeline, so the call for proposals is open. It opened last week, so that is available for you. Today, we're providing this informational webinar. The applications are due for both the fellowships and the course development stipends at the same time. So by the end of the day on February 19th, we're looking for applications. And then we plan to have a pretty quick turnaround on this for folks. So we want to be done with the review and sending notifications out to all applicants of the recipients of the fellowship and the stipends by March 1st. A key piece here that I want to highlight, I think I've kind of suggested it prior to this, but we are using an anonymous review process. So we have a committee set aside that will be reviewing applications. So again, final reminder, I guess, just to please remove any identifiers that you think might reveal the applicant's identity. So that concludes the overview. And I will open it up to any additional questions that anybody has. Feel free to either type in the chat, raise your hand, show us your face if you want.
I have a question, Sam.
Sure.
Oh, let's go to Hassan's first. Can more than one applicant apply for the fellowship? And is redaction okay?
Oh, okay. Hi, Hassan. So can more than one applicant apply for the fellowship? I may not be understanding that correctly. Mike, do you have a sense of what that might mean? Or Hassan, can you?
I jumped on late, so there can be multiple people on the same project applying for a single fellowship.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. There can be a team of folks that apply for the fellowship. So it can be a team-based project. And then is redaction okay? I'm wondering if you mean just kind of like the blackout redaction on a, say, for instance, on a PDF file. Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have COVID. That's why I'm writing the
Oh.
questions.
Oh
Sorry
no.
for that.
Feel better.
No. Yeah, no
Thank you.
problem. Did
Thank
we
you.
answer, Hassan, did we answer your questions?
Yeah, reductions for the identifiers. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay.
Redacting name and okay, thanks.
Yes, perfect. Yep. All right, Mike, do you want to pop in? And then we can open it to other folks as well.
Yeah, there's one more question there, but I'll pop in real quick because I think it's a useful one. What can you give an example of what type of things that the $12,500 can be used for?
Sure. I mean, as I mentioned before, if folks want to work with their departments to utilize that, well, first I'll just say as a course release, right? So if and I mean, maybe I'll just say, right, one of the motivations again behind this is because so many of us have lost our course releases that have been utilized to do research. That's really part of what motivated us to get this moving more quickly. But again, it can be utilized to support, your time. If you're conducting research over the summer, it can be utilized to support your time to do that. And if you need any assistance in like determining the kind of like hourly rate of your time, so that's something that we've worked with HR on numerous contracts that we've had through the Whitburn Center. So it can be utilized simply for the time that you're putting in. It can be utilized to, if there's like travel that you're doing to an organization to conduct, interviews or distribute surveys or do focus groups or anything like that, you can utilize it for that travel. You can utilize it for any like software that you need or equipment that you need. So it's very, very open. Is that answering your question, Mike?
That's exactly what I was hoping people understand, that we want to make sure that you don't restrict yourself.
Yeah.
When in doubt, apply.
Yeah, and absolutely. Yeah, when in doubt, apply. And I mean, quite honestly, I can't think of any restrictions. And I would say that we went through various channels and got various, not that we needed approvals, but we wanted to proactively ensure that we had the approval to provide this without restriction, working with folks in various administrative offices to make sure this was open. So I can go to the next question in the chat then. Can the course be one designed for Quest 3 that has never been taught? Yes, absolutely. So Quest courses, if you have Quest courses that you're teaching, the main thing is teaching between spring 2024 and spring 2025, but it can be a Quest course that has never been taught. It can be a Quest course that has been taught before and that is being taught again. So those courses are absolutely eligible. Awesome, thank you. Other questions that folks have?
And happy to answer questions about the Whitburn Center too, if you have those. You were just too well prepared, Dr. Larson.
Too thorough. That's okay. I mean, I'll just comment, right? Like I hope, and I think Mike and I and Lisa, you know, all hope that as we've coordinated this call, we want it to be simple. We don't want it to feel like a number of hoops that are being jumped through for this. So, so hopefully it is a fairly straightforward and simple process for folks. So I'll do a last call for questions. Thanks, Don. Yeah, so Don asked in the chat, would we have suggestions for hourly rates for student support? So I'll start with that question. What I would say, Don, so one resource that we've utilized, we've gone to HR, and for us, our graduate students, so there's like a specific hourly maximum rate that the Graduate Studies Office provides to research assistants. And so those are, and no worries that your camera and audio are not working. That's okay. So we have some of that information, but quite honestly, one way that we've approached that is providing a stipend to students rather than having them work on an hourly rate. Because I'll just be honest with you, it allows us to, by providing a research stipend, it allows us to give them a little bit more than the maximum rate is, if I can say that. And so for, I think that typically the max rate, Mike, do you have the specifics on that? I don't want to give you incorrect information.
Yeah, I don't have them offhand. Don, we can find that and we can certainly share that.
Yep, we're happy to do that. So yeah, if you have questions, and actually maybe that's something that we can link to on our call, but yeah, the stipend, I mean, I'll just tell you that the stipends that we've been doing for our students, we've been doing kind of calculating it based on an hourly rate of $20 an hour for graduate students. And then essentially working with them to determine how many hours per week for a certain length of time. And part of the reason that we did the stipend way, because I believe that the maximum hourly rate was like $15 an hour or something like that. So
yeah, I'll add too, I found the stipend is more, I think is more reflective of the the time commitments with these types of jobs, and that they're not necessarily, you know, this many hours a week. It might be backfilled or heavy in the end of the semester.
Right.
Our graduate students, for example, we have 7-week courses, so it might have a situation where their course load is really heavy at the beginning of the semester, lighter in the end of the semester. So the stipend allows you to work that out with a little more flexibility.
Right. The other thing I'll add to that, and this is also a resource that we could provide to folks, is we do have them, even if they have a stipend and they're not putting in their time hourly, we have our own separate hourly tracking system. So they're still reporting their time, just as a, you know, kind of as a time and effort tracking sheet for us and for them to know that we're keeping track. But right, as Mike said, you know, things may be front loaded or back loaded over a certain time period as well. So. And then the second question from Dawn, what about materials for community members who might be engaged in training? So resettled refugees, for example. Yes. So one thing that we've done in other projects previously is essentially giving kind of like incentives. I don't like that word, but kind of incentives for folks who, for instance, might be taking surveys or participating in focus groups. So if it's like an incentive that you want to provide to people who are participating in the work from the community, that's an eligible expense. I would say, you know, another example is if you're bringing in guest speakers, especially from, you know, resettled refugees or other historically underserved communities or underrepresented communities, providing honorariums or stipends to speakers is an eligible expense. And that's something that we've done through the Whitburn Center for folks who aren't affiliated with UWO. When we're bringing in speakers, we're offering them stipends because they're utilizing their time and their expertise and their experience. And we know that, you know, especially folks who are studied again and again and again, there's a lot of burden associated with that. So we want to support any community partners or community members in any way that we can, and this funding is absolutely a way to do that. Next question, is there a preference for a modality, online or face-to-face, to teach the course? There is not. So we won't have any preference for that. It's open to online, face-to-face, hybrid modalities, any of the above. One other thing I'll just related to all of this that I'll just mention for folks, as you're working on your proposals, if other questions come up or any of these questions come up, feel free. We'd be happy to chat one-on-one with folks or, you know, review any syllabi or applications or anything in advance as well. So, and I say we, but I mean me. So you can reach out to me, not to pull Mike into this, but if there's anything in the future that you want to kind of touch base on, or even like get information or input on, I'm happy to provide that. And I would say that I'm speaking a bit for Mike and I, but as we've been doing a lot of this type of work over the last few years with the Whitburn Center, but really even before, the Whitburn Center really came out of projects and courses that we were already teaching and research that we were already doing with community folks. So we've worked with a lot of different offices on campus to try to make this stuff work as smoothly as possible. It doesn't always work as smoothly as we hope, but we're happy to try to help support you as you're thinking through how to you know, do this work and give you our 2 cents on any suggestions that we have on how it can run a little easier. So, Mike, I don't know if you have any other final thoughts.
I do not, except I agree. I agree. Happy to answer any questions or any of that along the way. We certainly learn things the hard way along the way. So.
All right. Any other questions from anyone? Fantastic. Well, thank you all. Yeah, excellent. And so yeah, thank you all. We're very happy that you all joined us today. We look forward to your applications. I, previously worked before my time as an academic, I worked in fund development and philanthropy. And one of the things that always got to me is that we put out calls for proposals and then we tell people you're a perfect match, apply, and then no one applies to things. And so I say it's kind of like throwing a party that nobody comes to. So we're hoping that you all apply. And if you have colleagues that you think would be a good fit for this, also please share it with them. We're very hopeful and open, and again, willing to answer any of your questions. So yes, come to the party. I'm so excited. Yes, so anyway, with that, I'll let you all go and grab some lunch if you haven't done that yet. And I do hope you all also enjoy a bit more rest and get into a little bit more hibernation mode before the semester starts off. So great to see you all, and I think we'll end it there. So take care, everybody, and have a good day.